Hey, Emily Y. Wu here. I produce this show and a couple of others at Ghost Island Media. We hope you're safe and well, wherever you are. Today's episode is supported by the Institute for National Defense and Security Research in Taiwan, a think tank dedicated to fueling knowledge-based policy analyses and strategic assessments on Taiwan's security.
Wimbledon has been canceled for the first time since World War II. The Kentucky Derby and the Indy 500 won't run in the month of May for the first time since the mid-1940s. The London Marathon and the Tour de France won't start as scheduled. The 2020 Olympics will take place in 2021. But the first home run in this year's pro baseball season was hit on Sunday, April 12, pretty much on schedule. A Taiwanese outfielder cracked it in the first inning in Taichung, a city in central Taiwan, placing Taiwan at the top of the international statistics. The coronavirus has put a total hold on life as we know it. Closed-door sporting events? What's that? Mannequin fans and robot drummers replace humans. In this global pandemic, baseball in Taiwan has risen to the spotlight unexpectedly. Baseball is a much-loved American pastime, but it is the Japanese who passed the sport down to Taiwan when this island was still considered a colony of Japan. Baseball took Taiwan to Cuba and the Olympics. Baseball now has been caught up in the sensitive Taiwan-China politics. Baseball and its links between politics, sport, and soft power is a global issue, and this is the Taiwan Take. I'm your host, J.R. Wu. Welcome to a new episode. We speak with two sportscasters, Li Bingshen and Wang Qi-en, better known as Adam and Jacky. They host their own weekly podcast called Hito 大联盟, billed as the first podcast in the Mandarin language devoted to Major League Baseball of the United States. Adam is a sports journalist who has been covering Taiwanese players in the MLB for the past 3 years, while Jacky is a contributor to Fox Sports Taiwan. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
This COVID-19 is serious. Adam, as I understand it, you just got out of self-quarantine. I mean, really, why should anyone care about baseball? Business as usual here.
Yeah, actually, I was self-quarantined like months ago because I came back from the States and I was covered the spring training over there. And they suspend the spring training the whole season for now, I think on March 12th. And so far, they haven't restarted again in the States. So for us, for me and Jacky, baseball is our soul food. So we have to, in the self-quarantine, it's kind of boring days, you have to watch baseball or read some baseball stories. So baseball is our soul food. So I think it's very important to us.
Now, your podcast, it started in 2017. It's in the Mandarin language. I remember your 156th episode. I think, Adam, you mentioned in that show yourself, you were stuck in quarantine.
Yeah.
How do y'all podcast like that?
Yeah, we still can do like video conferencing. I think it's fine because the technology. Even when I was in the States, we still do the podcast in hotel room. And Jacky's was in his home, in his bedroom. Yeah.
So the game on Sunday, that April 12th game, which was the first in anywhere pro baseball season game, were you there?
No, there's no one there. The stadium is empty.
Now, as I understand it, it was a 4.5-hour game, 11 innings, 2 home runs, but gee, you guys are the experts. What else about this game?
It's the first home run in the world this season, right?
Who was it? I believe it was the outfielder was named Zheng Kai-wen, Kevin Cheng.
He's a outfielder for the Uni-President Lions. He has a great power, so he hit that home run. And off a pitcher with former Major League Baseball experience, which is also an impressive feat.
So United States. Now, there were pitchers there who used to work in MLB?
Yeah, the pitcher used to pitch for the Seattle Mariners, I believe. Ariel Miranda. He pitched in the Korea last year. And China Trust Brothers just hired him as a starting pitcher for the opening day. And they pitched the first pitch in the world, in the Pro Bowl.
So as you were saying, the two dingers, right, slang for home run, they came from pitchers with former MLB experience, but nobody could see these balls fly.
Yeah, it's because they don't allow fans to those games. It's because precautionary measures.
Jacky, I mean, all the other pro baseball teams around the world, I think even Japan and South Korea, they haven't come to any decision on whether or not they'll open their own season. Why has Taiwan done it?
I think it's because Taiwan does a pretty good job on containing the viruses, and people are doing a good job of listening to the government, be careful about themselves, but we are still very careful about that. It's a very incredible thing to even start the season, like right now. But we still have to be cautious, so we don't allow fans to go into those games. That's why we can start the season so early. And baseball is a sport that's not that physical as basketball or soccer.
Talk to the guy who home runs and slides into the umpire.
Yeah, but like most of the times, players are separated from each other on the baseball field. I think that's some of the reasons why we can start the season so early.
Now, I remember, Jacky, that you were actually on another podcast talking about this. It's suddenly become more interesting for everybody to know about Taiwan's baseball league, the Chinese Professional Baseball League, and their decision to continue with the season.
I think it still depends because a lot of things that we don't know. 2 months ago, the league still wanted to allow some of the ticket holders to go into the games, but they changed that policy. So even though we did start the season, I'm not sure whether 2 months later, 3 months later, if there is a positive case among the league's employees or players, the league might suspend the season, but I still think it is good for us to have baseball back again for now.
Actually, they pushed back the opening day twice. The original started at March 14, I believe, and then pushed back to 28th. And at the time, they still wanted season ticket holders to get in, like 150 fans over there. And the government said no, and they wanted just empty stadium. So it's only allowed the media persons there. And I think that this is a part of the compromise they deal with the government now for now. But we don't know yet.
Baseball is a national sport in Taiwan. You guys grew up with it. But the funny thing is, it actually came to Taiwan from Japan. This history of yakyu, is that what y'all call it in Japanese?
Yeah, but we don't know Japanese.
Right. But what do you think of its, I guess, origins? Tell me about how baseball came here.
It's like 100 years ago, I think, in Japanese colonial government. Colonial government.
It all started in like early 20th century.
Yeah, they brought the baseball here, and we have a team called Kano, which is very famous.
So there's this movie called Kano, K-A-N-O, that specifically is about that.
They play in Koshien, which is high school baseball games in Japan. 甲子園.
It's a tournament.
It's a tournament.
It's a huge tournament, and Japanese people love it.
Probably the biggest sports event in Japan.
Bigger than their professional league. Yeah.
So that makes Taiwanese people crazy over there. And this is the team that's very special. They combine with Japanese, Taiwanese player, and Aboriginal players. So it's kind of a very big history event.
So back then, when Taiwan was under Japanese colonial rule, late 1800s, early 1900s, probably up until about 1945 after the Second World War. So Taiwan grew up with this kind of sport. And I mean, part of its history, we can see it on the $500 new Taiwan dollar bill. there is a bunch of baseball players on this bill.
Yeah, it's a celebration. I think after the 9-1 elementary school win the championship, somewhat games, they printed it on the $500 bill, which is really cool.
So when I was studying the dollar bill there, they look like kids on there.
Yeah, we had a lot of great Little League teams in Taiwan back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. We sent a lot of great Little League teams to the United States to compete in the Little League World Series, mostly in Williamsport, which is a very...
Pennsylvania?
Yeah, Pennsylvania. Yeah, which is a very famous Little League event. And we won a lot of times. We won a lot of championships over there in the 1970s and 80s. And during that time, a lot of people in Taiwan were crazy for those student players. And that's how baseball became very, very popular in Taiwan. And it got its roots in Taiwanese people's hearts.
Do you play baseball, Jacky?
I played a little bit in high school, but it's just...
Did you play in Little League?
No, I didn't play, but I played a little bit in high school, and I do it recreationally, like with some friends.
How come you didn't go into the big times? Or, geez, Adam, how come you didn't go?
Why? Because I'm not athletic. We play softball in the weekend league.
What else about the history of baseball that would be good for our listeners to know? I mean, it's got this Japanese connection, which I didn't know. What else?
In my parents' generation, as Jacky mentioned, people watch the games at midnight to watch the Williamsport Championship.
The time zone difference.
Yeah, 12 hours difference. So everybody watched the midnights. You can still hear the story all the time, and when the parents talk about the baseball. That's probably our glorious day in Taiwan.
And after that, we have Olympic teams, great Olympic teams. Like in 1984, Los Angeles Olympics, we sent our national team there. Although at that time, it wasn't an official Olympic sport. We still won the exhibition games. We won the bronze medal. And when it became official in 1992 in Barcelona, we won the silver medal there. So that also brought a lot of Taiwanese people together, and we celebrated those great victories.
I mean, this international connection is pretty wide. It seems like it was pretty strong back then. I mean, Taiwan's baseball team even made it to Cuba for a demonstration around. And now it's not as... well, hell, I can't say popular, but it's not as big as other sports have developed in other countries. Why is that?
I think baseball, if you look at it from a global perspective, baseball is very regional because soccer is still the most popular sport in the world, and baseball remains popular only in
Pacific rings.
Yeah, United States, Central America, and also Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Only these regions. I think it's because of the colonial era. The British conquered most of the world, while baseball grew up in the United States, and United States wasn't dominating the world. I think that's part of the reason.
And you need more people to play baseball. That's one of the reasons. Because you've had a soccer ball, you can play by yourself. And so if you want to play baseball, you have to wide open field and play like 9 people for a team. You have 2 teams, like 18 people over there. So I think you have to like developing countries to play baseball.
Yeah, the threshold is higher.
Yeah.
Like you have
buy equipment stuff.
Yeah, a lot of equipment involved in baseball, and it is also harder to throw a baseball that far. If you are a pitcher, if you throw a baseball yourself and you know how hard it is to exactly locate your pitch on the spot where you want to pitch. But soccer, basketball, you can just pick up a ball and you can do it. Baseball needs a lot of practice. It needs a lot of skills and talent.
Can you tell us a little bit about these fantastic and famous Taiwanese baseball players who either made it in America or Japan or even are here in Taiwan?
You must mention Wang. Wang is a former Yankee. He won twice 19 games season, which is pretty good.
There was a movie or a documentary.
Yeah, about his comeback to the major league, but it's after his glory days. Wang is probably our national hero. and others like Wang, the pitcher for the Miami Marlins last season. Now it's pitched for the Mariners.
Wang Chen's contract with the Marlins is still the most lucrative contract for Asian sports players.
Yeah.
It's better than Yao Ming, better than any other Asian sport.
Better than...
stars.
Well, does Jeremy Lin count?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. He's an Asian player.
Yeah, he's an Asian player. But
still surpassing.
Yeah, his contract is not as big as Wang Chen. It's like Wang Chen's contract is 5 years, $80 million.
$80 million.
Which is incredible.
Which Taiwanese players are in the MLB right now?
There are 2 players on the 40-man roster, I believe. Yu Chen for the Indians and Zhu Weiling for the Red Sox.
And their hometown here is?
I think it's Taichung and Kaohsiung.
Just this week, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He actually made a reference to Taiwan Baseball and he cottoned on to the corporate sponsorship. Now in Taiwan, our current teams, they're represented or they're actually supported by 2 food conglomerates, 2 banks, an e-commerce giant. There used to be a shoemaker or a hotelier as well. Tell us about what role these corporates play in baseball in Taiwan.
I think they are the center of Taiwan's professional baseball because without those corporates, we won't have this league. It is very important to them to have their names on their teams because the teams, the baseball, the league are the way for them to promote their companies, for them to promote their image.
As we see in other major sports, corporate sponsorship, that's marketing.
Exactly. But the CPBL is different because...
The Chinese
Professional Baseball League.
Right,
Yeah.
CPBL. I got to keep that in my head, CPBL.
It's mouthful, I know. Yeah. But it's very important because the CPBL teams don't actually make a lot of money like other major sports leagues around the world. So it is even more important for those Taiwanese baseball teams to use these team names and other measures to promote their products so that they can make money from other things. So that's
now, the
why.
only foreign sponsor right now is...
Rakuten Monkeys.
How come?
They bought the team from the Nadu, the shoemaker.
And Rakuten also has a team in
Japan.
NPB, Nippon Baseball League. So they have experience in managing and operating a professional baseball team. And they actually want to make inroads into our e-commerce market.
Taiwan's e-commerce.
Yeah, Taiwan's e-commerce market. So that's the biggest reason that they want to buy the team so that they can make more business in Taiwan.
But, you know, I mean, this is an issue for all corporate sponsors for, you know, the Wimbledon, the Indy 500, and even baseball in Taiwan. This virus is keeping everybody at home. Are these corporate sponsors, they put pressure to try to get the season open, right?
Yeah, I think part of the reason. And the league, too. Because the league want to grab some attention from the world and want to know there is a professional league in Taiwan in the Far East. So the foreigner fans can watch the games on TV or on internet.
It's actually a very good opportunity for the CPBL to promote itself.
Yeah, to go globally.
We are on the center stage of the world, right? It's a very rare opportunity. In the past, like most of the people or baseball fans in the United States, they never heard of Taiwan baseball. They never heard of the CPBL. They only heard about Korean Baseball League, Japanese Baseball League. But this is the one opportunity for the CPBL to let fans around the world, baseball fans around the world, to know that this league exists.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, when I go through online for research, Sports Illustrated has written about what's going on in Taiwan.
Yeah.
NBC, CBS. I can't read any other language, but I'm assuming Japan media is picking up on it. South Korean media is picking up on it as well.
Yeah, because there's no baseball stuff, so they have to write it.
Yeah,
there's no baseball news.
Like Korean baseball, they are planning to start a season in mid-May, if I didn't mistake that. And most of the Americans originally know about that date, about the KBL, Korean Baseball League, but they never heard about the CPBL started the season even earlier. So when they knew that, they were very surprised. So a lot of media members started to report this news.
And there are some marketing gimmick too, like robots fans and fake fans. You know, close the stadium. So there is a newsworthy, I think.
So when we talk about Taiwan baseball, we need to talk about the scandals.
Game fixing.
That's right.
When you talk about Major League Baseball, you have to mention the Black Sox too. So the scandal is part of the history.
It happened in 1919, and it was a huge scandal in Major League Baseball history. It affected a lot of people's lives and the sports as a whole. But that incident showed that how game fixing can affect the game. And that's why when CPBL founded, during the first 10 years, we had a very huge game fixing scandal that really broke a lot of people's hearts because it is the single most serious taboo in this professional sport.
Take us through Taiwan's scandal.
We had like 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I think it's 5 times.
5 times of very great game fixing scandals.
Wipe out 3 teams.
Yeah, wipe out 3 teams.
When we say game fixing, they purposely lose.
Yeah,
Yes.
The gangsters will pay players money for them to throw the game.
That's 9 people you got to pay off.
Oh,
whatever
maybe
it's
more than
guaranteed.
that.
Yeah.
You have to also pay off the coaches because coaches also have to cooperate sometimes.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of foreign players came to Taiwan to play professional baseball. Then they were also threatened. And actually, just recently, a former CPBL player who is American, he posted on Twitter about his experience in Taiwan being threatened by Taiwanese gangsters to throw a game.
So again, how it shows how this virus has made Taiwan baseball stuck in the spotlight. Now, these scandals, they happened back in the 2006.
Before 2010. All the game fixing scandals happened before 2010. So it hasn't happened for this past 10 years.
So what happened back then? You said like 3 teams were wiped out.
Yeah. They kind of dismissed the team
Yeah.
right after
That's
the
a
scandal.
big deal, right?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's not all in one. It's like 5 times. So it's in a span of like 15 years. It's the black days of the CPBL. And 3 teams were wiped out. And there was one team called
D-Media.
D-Media.
T-Rex.
And that team was formed to throw games.
Yeah.
It was formed by the gangsters and
Clearly, I'm listening to this for the first time.
The only purpose of that team is to throw games, do the game fixing for those gangsters to make money, which sounds ridiculous.
Is there a movie on this?
No one gonna mention
Darn
it.
it.
It's a great movie idea, actually.
And then go on.
Yeah, so I think that's the biggest one. That's the most ridiculous one.
Fortunately, the team only lasts for 1 year
Yeah.
after the scandal. So they kind of just right after just dismissed it.
And I think the one that broke most people's heart is the one that happened in 2009 because the one player that was involved in that scandal is Qinghui Cao Jinghui.
It's a former Major League pitcher.
He was a former Major League player. Cao Jinghui, he was a national hero when he was in Major Leagues. Everybody loved him. But after he came to Taiwan in 2009, playing for the CPBL team, he was involved in these game-fixing scandal. So that broke a lot of people's heart because when he came back, a lot of people started to root for CPBL again. He brought a lot of excitement back to the game, but he was involved in the biggest scandal in that decade for the CPBL. So that really broke a lot of people's hearts. And it took a lot of years for the CPBL to amend that, to fix their connection with their fans.
But he wasn't guilty.
And he actually went back to the Major League again.
After the scandal.
After the scandal.
5 years later, I think?
Yeah, in 2015 or 16, I forgot. But he actually made it back to the big leagues, which is also very
That's
incredible
amazing.
thing.
Legendary.
Is there a movie on that one?
No.
Darn it.
I think he will not cooperate with this one. He definitely doesn't want to mention it.
Yeah.
So what's the influence on baseball today because of that past
I think
for Taiwan?
Yeah, all those game fixing scandals have left a very deep scar in Taiwanese baseball fans' hearts. And that's why all the fans and all the league officials now are trying to make sure that doesn't happen again, which is very important for the health of this league. Because I believe if a game fixing scandal happened again, I think the league will collapse.
For Taiwan Baseball, right?
Professional baseball league, yeah.
And they pay higher money now. They pay better.
Yeah, that is very important.
Yeah, that's way better because the gangster cannot pay that much higher. Then
that's why they want to cooperate with
the salary.
With the gangster. Yeah.
So I think it's probably the reason. And they control the safety of the players better. You can see police officers in the stadium. So I think they try to control the situation.
Gosh, I wonder if they have a police officer robot for this season.
All right. You can just unplug it. There's no use. It's not Terminator.
Yeah. And I think the current social media environment is also important because now everyone can be a reporter. Everyone can report on stories. Back then, if you are not a news reporter, you can not know about this. But nowadays, people always leak information. So I think it became harder for the gangsters to do those things.
Yeah, the transparency. Yeah, transparency-wise, yeah, it is much better now.
Hi. If you've enjoyed the Taiwan Take, you can give us a good rating on Apple Podcasts. This helps other listeners find the show. If you have a news tip, tweet at us at Ghost Island Me. For dollar tips, we take monthly donations through Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Taiwan.
Now, I think you were telling me, Adam, that for the games in Taiwan, 2 of them, they got canceled, but they actually had robot drummers and mannequin fans, and that is a bit of a tradition from Japanese baseball.
Yeah, I think it's a heritage from Japan.
And Korean baseball.
Yeah, Korean baseball. We have cheerleaders from, the culture from KBO, the Korean baseball. Drummers and yelling, the cheering, like a group, like an army. It's from Japan's culture. But you won't see this in the States.
Well, I mean, I went to a Cubs game a long time ago when I lived in Chicago. I just waited for the 9th inning to sing that song. And they don't have the same hot dog song.
Take me out to the ball.
No, that's the 7th inning stretch.
Clearly, experts I'm talking to.
Yes, after the game, there's a Go Cubs Go. If they win the game, they will sing the Go Cubs Go together.
That's right.
If you have ever been to a Taiwan's baseball game, you will feel the great atmosphere. It's completely different from the games in the United States. I love Taiwan's baseball games maybe better because of the cheerleading and their songs for each player. When they came up to bat, they will play the song.
Like each player has their own unique song.
Yeah, like walk-up songs.
Yeah, and all the fans will chant the lyrics in the song. A great atmosphere, and you will be immersed into it. You will be drawn into it, and you will love it. And that's how Taiwan's baseball teams operate now. They use all these strategies to draw fans to their stadiums.
It's very engaging. It's like you're part of the war. You have the chanting, yelling. It's like battle with somebody else.
So it's really a big fat difference, I suppose, particularly for the players out there when there's no one in the stadium because of this virus. Again, how life has been put on hold and totally changed in so many ways.
That's the reason they have the robot drummers. They want to create the vibes like people in the stadium.
Yeah, they want to imitate real-life games. A lot of players have said that it is very important for them to have fans in the stands to cheer for them so that they can perform well. They feed on that.
Yeah.
So, Jacky, Adam, tell me about a game you've been to and compare it to like a Yankee game or a Cubs game. What's the difference?
It won't hurt cheers in the Yankees game, but you probably hear some slurs and curse from the stands. But in Taiwan, you follow the cheerleaders.
Now, when we say cheerleaders, in Taiwan, what you mean is like rows of professional audience goers. We're not talking about like a team of 5 girls down there shouting. We're talking about a whole stadium side shouting.
Teams still have a cheerleading group.
And I have to say, they must be men and women too, not just girls and boys.
Yeah, and also there's a leader of that group who will lead the chants for the fans. He will shout all the chants and the fans will follow him. He will talk to the fans, interact with the fans. So the leader of the cheerleading group is very important. They combine and create this great atmosphere in a CPBL game. I've been to both games in the United States and Taiwan. They are both loud. In the United States, if you go to a Yankee game, it's still loud. But the way it got loud is different. If in a Yankee game, the voice of the fans, because the sheer amount of the fans is too big, so they can create a lot of noise organically. But in Taiwan, a lot of games, we still have a lot of fans, but we are even louder because we have these stereo systems that keep sending sounds and voices. The cheerleading groups will lead the chants, and the music, everything, theme songs, all the things combined together, and it's just very, very loud.
The cultural-wise is very different because in the States, it's probably like family game. You talk to your kids, you talk to your friends, holding a beer. Most of the time, you're chatting. It's not about cheerleading. That's like social activities over there. But in Taiwan, it's more like exercising, or you can like join the battle. Stuff like that. It's very different.
Yeah.
Now, so I've heard something special happens at the end of a game.
Oh, yeah. The players will bow to the fans and coaches and
they all stand in line? How does this happen?
They will stand along the foul line and bow to the fans. After that, they will gather near the pitcher's mound and bow to the fans and the ground.
Both teams together?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, even the losing team, I think they will bow to the
And they're all
fans.
squashed together on the pitcher's mound, and they all bow at the same time in the same direction?
No, it's like circle, so it's not the same direction.
Right.
Yeah.
And they bow to the ground?
Yeah, because it's kind of respect. They provide good fields, condition, so they want to bow thanks to the god of the field.
Yeah, it's from Japanese tradition.
Yeah.
The coaches in school varsity teams will teach students to bow to the fans and to the ground after the game, to be thankful, respectful of the game.
Even there is no fan right now. They still have to bow. It's like tradition. Bow to the robot.
So Japanese baseball games in Japan also have this same tradition?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah, I
Do
believe
the
so.
South Korean baseball folks do the same?
Actually, I don't know.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
I'm not that
I think that's
familiar.
beautiful. I want to ask a little bit more serious, but because it has caused a bit of confusion. So we've talked about Chinese Professional Baseball League. Why isn't it Taiwan Professional Baseball League? Why is Taiwan-China political issues part of baseball here?
It's a complicated issue, and it derives from the feud between Taiwan and China. So that's why we named the league the Chinese Professional Baseball League. At that time, the government wanted to make sure that we remain the China. We are the only China in the world, something like that. But in recent years, people have a very different perspective on that. And actually, I have a lot of friends who are suggesting that maybe we can change the name from CPBL to TPBL, Taiwan Professional Baseball League. They are starting these votes to show their love for this new name. But I think it's still an issue going on. And
I think it's really tough politics that when it gets into sports. I know recently in Taiwan, even our own flagship carrier here in Taiwan called China Airlines, it gets mistaken for being from China just because of the name. And it's something that our institute, we deal with defense and security, but Taiwan and China and the whole political issues around it, when it hits sports, what do you do? How do you guys look at it when you get asked?
This is a frequently asked question. If we want to go international tournament, we have to use Chinese Taipei, which is really kind of weird.
Compromise.
Yeah, they don't know it's a national name or it's the country name or what is the organization or something else. But you have to use Chinese Taipei. That's kind of sad thing, but it's a compromise. So,
I mean, speaking of, how is baseball in China? How's the development there?
I would say it's just a startup.
Adam has been there to cover a story.
Cover a story. The Major League trying to set up the school over there. They want to.
You mean American Major League?
Yeah.
Oh,
Major
right.
League Baseball. They want to cultivate next Yao Ming of the baseball.
Yao Ming is that tall basketball player out of China.
Exactly. They want to export the Chinese player. From China to the United States. They grab attentions from China audience. They want to get more money. They want to expand the market.
Everyone else when you're talking about professional sports,
yeah,
right?
exactly. NBA has done a really good job. So MLB want to follow steps. So they trying to set up a school over there, try to cultivate all the younger players and to the States.
But so far, it hasn't succeeded that much, right?
It's kind of hard
because
because
it's tough.
it takes 100 years for Taiwan. So, I mean, you have to be patient.
And I think the Chinese government is not very passionate about baseball.
Yeah.
Sports in China, if sports in China want to be popular, they have to get the support from the government.
Like soccer and basketball.
Exactly.
Or ping pong.
Right. Okay. What do you see the 2020 pro baseball season shaping up to physically look like and just look like, whether it's in the MLB, the CPBL?
For MLB,
America,
it still remains to be seen because nobody knows what will happen, and the COVID-19 situation in the United States is far serious than here in Taiwan. And the commissioner of MLB has proposed some ideas, but almost all of them are not received very well because those ideas are not practical enough. And there are still a lot of issues to be dealt with before those ideas can be addressed. But in Taiwan, I hope that we can finish this season without any further suspension. I really hope to see that. And if we can do that...
Meaning for the players to actually physically play on a field, even if there is no spectator.
Yeah, I hope that we can resume the season in a normal way. But this is the measure that we have to take to address this problem during this difficult time. But I think a very important thing is that if we can make it through this season, it proves that Taiwan has done a very, very good job in combating this disease. It shows that we still can remain a huge part of our normal life, even under these such extreme circumstances.
Yeah, but for the MLB, there are 30 teams. So there are like thousands of people.
Versus Taiwan's 5 teams.
Actually, yeah, you can say it's 5 teams. But in the regular season, there's only 4 teams. But the farm system, there are 5 teams. So or even 9 teams.
Oh, God.
Yeah. They got the like second squad, like farm teams. They got the regular season. So there are like 9 teams. But United States, they have minor leagues. So more like 200 teams in the States. So it's way complicated in the States and compared to Taiwan. So in Taiwan, it's like 14 and a small island. So it's more controllable. You can say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only like 100 players. So it's much easier to control all the situation. Yeah, staffs. It's way complicated. That probably is one of the reasons that Taiwan CPBL can make it happen in April.
You guys are amazing. You should do your podcast in the English language. ヒット大聯盟. So what's ahead for your podcast and actually for the two of you?
We will continue to do it, that's for sure.
That's only one goal, actually.
Yeah, and that's something we are very proud of because over these past 3 years, we have never missed an episode.
I know, you're at 160th episode, right?
Yeah.
As of Sunday.
Yeah, on Sunday.
April 12th.
And even Adam went to the United States to do his work. And even when I went to do the military service, we never stopped. So that's something we're very proud of.
How did you do it in military service in Taiwan?
So in military service, we still have holidays.
Not every week, though.
Yeah, every week. We still take 2 days off every week. So when I came back from the camp, from the military service, during days, and I can do the podcast with Adam.
Which service were you in? Navy, Air Force?
Army, yeah.
Right.
Actually, he missed one episode.
One episode. But we invite a guest host to do that for me, but only one episode, yeah.
As we wrap up, for those who are interested in finding out more about Taiwan Pro Baseball, there is a website. It's cpblstats.com. It's a fan site, right?
Yeah, it's not official.
Now, for fans and listeners who want to know more about Adam and Jacky, where do we find you?
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast platforms. You can search HITO. I think they will auto-complete the show's name, so you just type in HITO, ヒット大聯盟.
Yeah, and we also have an official website, hito.mlb. hitomlb.com, hitomlb.com.
Can they find you on Twitter and all the social media? Facebook, right? You all met on Facebook.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group for our show. So if you add it, we will let you in and we can discuss baseball in the group.
Yeah, you can discuss in English too. That's fine.
Jacky, Adam, it has been wonderful having you and talking to you guys today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From the first day I stepped in, I knew I would heed the call. I was destined for glory, rise above and never fall. This is the moment I've waited for all of my life. This is my legacy, this is my moment to rise. I was born to win.
This has been a Ghost Island Media production based in Taipei, Taiwan. This episode was produced and edited by me, Emily Waiwu. Our researcher is Sam Robbins. Brand design by Thomas Lee. Catch you next time. Bye.
I was born to win. I was born to win.